And a good afternoon or good evening, depending where you are, or to Akihana, who is up in the Philippines, good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another read-along. This is the second to last read-along that we will be having for A World Away. So, no worries. I know we're almost there, but we still have one more chapter to go. And I am excited for it, of course. But I'm sure the gang here is also excited to be able to reach the end of this massive story. 370,000-ish words. I don't know. I think that's pretty impressive, if I must say so myself. How are you, gang?
Hey. Good. Excited.
Right?
All good.
Yeah, so what's significant about this chapter is that it literally is the end of the story, because the next chapter after this, 117, will just be like epilogues, like quick run-throughs of where everybody stands at the end of the story. So this is basically the finale, I guess, the grand climax, I guess. And so anyway,
Chaos for one, and this is what happened.
Yeah, basically, I mean, the summary for this one is, hold on, let me see. Every Glebe's harsh judgment is upon the land. Where will everyone end up? Final chapter, epilogue to follow. So there you go.
Just letting you all know,
Mhm.
Casper is inevitable, so do not resist.
Says the child of Chaosifer here. Who knows? Maybe at the end, maybe there could be a way, we don't know what Rosamund is doing, you guys. We don't know. And Ferdinand, he is determined. He disappeared into the heart of a dying world, but something could happen, you guys. Don't give up hope yet. Well, we can still find out what happens. This is why we're here. Let's see. But first, before we get ahead of ourselves, let me just say hello to the gang over on YouTube. We have Yukihime, who was the very first one who commented. Hello, Yukihime. How are you?
I'm great and very excited for this to finally have a conclusion. I've been here for 3 years.
Oh my gosh, you have indeed, and God bless you for your patience. And we also have Fergie, who says quack. Hello, Fergie. How are you? Are you ready?
Quack.
Mm-hmm. Quack. He says quack. Right. Happy to see you here. And then there's Teal, who is posing all kinds of conundrums that honestly are going right over my head at the moment. Let's see. It says, but why, some say, read 117 chapters of A World Away? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why circle the shrines? Why, 35 years ago, be born a bookworm? Why does Uncle Felger play Ditter? We choose to read 117 chapters. We choose to read 117 chapters in this decade and read 117 chapters of the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Peel, is this a musical?
This is JFK's speech about why we're going to the moon.
Oh.
You know what? I thought it was a reference to something. It sounded like a speech. I like it.
I was like, is this something from Les Mis or something that I'm trying to think of something that's bracing and let's gather all the troops, something like a speechy thing. And okay, awesome.
I mean, JFK had a penchant for very good speeches.
Or his writers, maybe. Every president has to have a winning speech writer, so but yeah. Let's see. But yeah, we are probably 117 chapters of a book is not quite in the same level as reaching the moon. But honestly, you guys, I've never finished writing anything in my life, and I've been writing since I was 10 years old. So this to me is like reaching the moon. So thank you, Teal, for
Sounds like
that.
most fanfic writers.
Yeah. If it hadn't been
Yeah,
for
we'll
you
make it.
guys, I would not be here where I am. Like honestly, honestly. So Theo says, sorry, my current obsession is the space race. Don't apologize. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And then we have Hirami who says, hello, how are you, Hirami?
I'm doing good. It's been a while. I'm feeling a lot of emotions because this is since I came to the server. This is the first thing that I'm reading with you guys, and seeing it ending like this is kind of.
Oh. Don't worry, this is just the first of hopefully many. We have a lot of stuff planned, so I'm happy you joined us and excited that though this journey is almost at its end, this is not the last one. You know, it's been a wonderful journey and there's more to come. Let's see. We also have Crusher. It says, behold, I am texting while at a traffic light. Crusher, please take care. Please. And like, cops these days, they're just finding any excuse to stop you. I mean, you just glance at your phone once and. Okay, so my
Hell,
sister.
you eat a sandwich and it looks like a cell phone, and they'll
yeah.
pull you over for that.
There's stories of friends and my sister who were like, yeah, I wasn't texting, but yeah. So be careful, okay? And hope you can join us. Hop on over on the server if you want to, so you can hang out with us a little bit. And Little Butterfly says, just saying hi, can't stay. Okay, Little Butterfly, thank you for dropping a hello, and I hope that you enjoy the replay when you're able to get to it. All right, so gang, before I get started, anything we need to just refresh our memories of about the past chapter 115 that we read? It was Dark Horizon Part 1.
Everything is doomed. Eckhart is dead. Myne, she got gone.
Myne, she got.
Mine is bleeding a lot, and Ferdinand just figured out that Chaosfall just is having fun and making him fight her for the sake of it. He's going back to where he is needed, and he's going to be there for Myne.
Exactly.
Because Eckhart cannot be.
Right. So, perfect. We pick up right from there. I do have to say, you guys, if you're able to read these chapters, especially these last two chapters with the soundtrack that I suggested, I literally like, my inspiration for like apocalyptic fanfic came from one of my favorite animes. It's Wolf's Rain, and the soundtrack to it was pivotal when it came to writing these chapters. So if you're able to, please like go back and read them with the soundtracks. I know I never really pushed for you guys to read the soundtracks, but this time I am. Like later on, if you're able to, head on over to the AO3 and find the links. So they're absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking and lovely. Yoko Kanno is really, really awesome. And of course, though, Spotify doesn't have those songs, so I also included some songs that also went really good as I was plotting out the story. So you may find those also very good. So there's 6 songs for this chapter. All right. But that aside, I think we should get started. It is time to read, you guys. And today's readers are as follows. We have Rosina is going to be read by Hirami. Elvira will be read by yours truly, Magpie. Ferdinand will be read by JC Fergie. Myne will be read by Teal. The pilot, who's the pilot? What the heck? Oh, well, whatever. Will be read by Patrick. Reporter, it will be also read by Patrick. Miscellaneous will be read by Yukihime. and a scholar, random scholar, will be read by Hirami. Who are all of these people? Stay and find out. Okay, gang, let's get this started. Oh, and by the way, a huge thank you to Teal, who highlighted this chapter. Thank you, Teal. All right, let's get started. Chapter 116, Dark Horizon, Part 2. Important. Fanfic tags have been updated to reflect trigger warnings. I will be mentioning stillbirth and miscarriage, so if this is not your cup of tea, please head on out. Despite the country's foundational magic crumbling, rendering most magic circles, including teleportation circles, useless, the one within Ehrenfest castle suddenly flared to life. Rainbow light burst forth in radiant waves, illuminating the chamber with an intensity that made the two knights standing guard recoil in shock. The gasps of alarm barely escaped before a figure materialized within the glow. Ferdinand. His piercing gaze burned with a ferocity neither knight had ever seen before. His bishop's robes, always stately and dignified, now billowed unnaturally, their pristine white radiance resembling something not of this world. The very fabric shimmered as if woven with divine light, ethereal, untouchable. He was beautiful and terrifying. The knights could barely find their voices.
Lord Ferdinand!
He ignored them. The moment his foot left the circle, the ground beneath him shuddered.
It's happening again!
One of the guards cried, his face draining of color as he braced himself against the wall. Ferdinand could feel it too, and not just the shaking ground. The very air trembled with apprehension and unrest. The once orderly corridors of the castle had devolved into chaos. Scholars and nobles ran in every direction, their panicked voices blending into a cacophony of fear. White ordnance birds streaked through the halls like frantic comets, urgent messages flitting through the air as the disaster unfolded. Ferdinand batted them away as he strode forward, his pace unbroken even as people stumbled into him in their frantic attempts to flee.
Lord Ferdinand!
A scholar who served as Secretary of Communications rushed to his side, his breath coming in short, panicked bursts.
The border walls. They're collapsing. A wave of white sand is consuming everything on its path.
Ferdinand did not flinch. He had already known what was coming. Chaosopher had shown him how it all would unfold, and he knew that every Gleb's wrath would consume them all before fourth spell struck. But none of that mattered. Not now. Ignoring the other men's questions about Sylvester and about what could be going on in the sovereignty, Ferdinand's eyes remained fixed on the path ahead. He knew what he had to do. He should have explained everything to her back then. Should have told her why he couldn't return her love, why he had to keep his promise to Gunther, why his political marriage to Charlotte had been necessary and would have made marriage to Myne, and Myne alone, utterly impossible. He should have done anything but leave her alone with a shattered heart. Now Eckhart, the one who had truly deserved her, the one who had given her love and family, the one who had been everything that Ferdinand had not, was gone. And yet Ferdinand was still the one standing. He didn't deserve to be the one to be with her in these final moments, but he would be damned if he let her face them alone. The Lindbergh estate was no less chaotic than the castle. The tension here, however, had a focal point. Bran met him at the entrance, his usually composed face pale with worry, his eyes haunted. He ushered Ferdinand through the halls, up the sweeping marble steps, toward Myne's chambers. Desperate voices rang through the corridor long before Ferdinand arrived.
Lady Myne, please! You must open the door!
Rosina's voice, thick with tears. My dear, please talk to me. Elvira, her composure barely holding, fear and grief laced beneath each word. As he got near, Ferdinand could feel an oppressive pressure in the air. He could hear the soft, broken sounds from within, the cries of a person who has nothing left but grief. His chest tightened. The sound only confirmed what nobody else but Myne, who held Eckhart's name, seemed to know. He had ascended to the distant heights. Ferdinand felt it keenly. His loyal retainer was gone, just like that.
This is just the beginning.
He reminded himself.
Soon, everyone else will follow.
He took in a steadying breath.
Step aside,
He said, voice cutting through their pleas like a blade. The small crowd at Myne's door turned, their faces lighting at the sight of him, with a range of emotions from confusion to desperate hope. Elvira stared, stunned, not just by his sudden appearance, but by something more. She was sharp, always had been, and she saw too much in him now. "Lord Ferdinand," she greeted at last, her voice barely steady.
Lady Elvira.
He inclined his head.
I am here to fulfill your son's final request.
Silence fell, heavy and terrible. Elvira's lips parted slightly, but no words came. Her eyes, however, spoke volumes. She didn't want to believe, couldn't let herself believe. Ferdinand did not blame her in the slightest, but he also couldn't let her stand in the way of what he'd come all this way for.
Eckhart asked that should anything happen to him, I would see to Lady Myne and his child.
A long moment passed. Elvira's face went rigid while she processed his words and what they meant. Her hands, clasped neatly at her waist, tightened until her knuckles blanched bone white. "I see." Her voice was steady, though something in it spoke of oceans of grief held carefully in check. The ground heaved again, this time lurching violently, and everyone cried out in alarm. Some scattered away like leaves in the wind, but not Elvira. She turned back to Ferdinand, and for a moment he saw not the composed noble lady, but a mother who had just realized she had lost her son.
I suggest everyone take shelter.
He said firmly.
Hidden rooms, if possible.
But Lady Myne,
A middle-aged woman who wore the attire of a physician began, her voice filled with concern. "Lord Ferdinand will take care of her," Lady Elvira said, interrupting gently. Then she looked meaningfully at Ferdinand. "He'll take care of them both from now on." A stir of shock spread through the small crowd at her words, but Elvira excelled, ignoring them all. Steadying herself with the kind of grace only noble women possessed after lifetimes of practiced composure, she nodded once, definitively. "Please, take care of them. They are all I have left of him now." She turned to her attendants. "Be sure to follow his instructions to the letter. Anything he needs or requires, bring it to him without delay." She turned and walked away, her back straight, her composure unshaken, her attendant following her closely. However, a tall, dark-haired girl broke off from the group and ran toward her, offering her arm. Elvira took it gratefully. Ferdinand didn't recognize the girl, but he was relieved that Elvira would have someone during these final moments. He waited until she turned the corner before facing Myne's door.
Myne?
Ferdinand knocked, his voice softer than he intended.
I'm coming in.
No lock stood a chance against his book of Messionora. He pushed the door open in a matter of heartbeats. The doctor, Fran, Rosina, Delia, and another girl with the hair the color of honey that he did not recognize, moved to follow, but he raised a hand.
No. Try to seek shelter. It won't be long now.
He closed the door behind him. locked it. The air was even more oppressive within the room. It almost felt thick, not with smoke or darkness, but with something heavier. Grief made tangible. The cloying perfume of spring flowers filled the space, overwhelming in their sweetness. It took him only a moment to recognize them. Every container, every vase, overflowing with 1,000 blooms. The 1,000 blooms he and Eckhart had won together, along with the ingredients he had meant to use to craft an engagement necklace for Rosamine. His chest clenched spasmodically at the thought of his own beloved and how he'd never see her again. But this was where he wanted to be, needed to be. He approached the bed and saw Myne there, curled beneath the covers like a wounded animal. She was clinging onto something that glowed faintly in the dusky light of the room, but he was unable to see what it was, because the moment he approached and called out her name, she hid whatever it was under a pillow.
Myne?
I said go away!
She replied in a sharp, broken howl that tore at his heart. And then, pain. Ferdinand gasped as an invisible weight slammed into his chest with crushing force. Yoo-hoo, Fergie!
I made a noise, it didn't come through.
He stumbled backward, vision darkening at the edges, lungs struggling for air. She was crushing him with her power, unaware or uncaring of the damage she might do.
Myne!
He ground out.
It's me.
Leave me alone!
She cried, her voice raw with anguish. He pushed forward against the magical pressure, each step a battle of wills. He had abandoned her once. He would not do so again.
I think it didn't catch you again.
It didn't catch you again, Fergie.
Myne.
He collapsed next to her bed, falling to his knees as sweat dripped from his forehead from the exertion. But she hadn't meant to hurt him, he knew, because the moment he reached her bedside and collapsed, he heard her gasp and felt the crushing weight she'd wielded against him vanish immediately. And then she began to weep anew. She reached out to him, extending a hand out which he immediately took.
They're gone, Ferdinand. Both of them. Gone.
Her voice was raw, each word torn from her throat, before she suddenly gasped and moaned in pain.
Myne, what's the matter?
Ferdinand exclaimed, his horror deepening as he watched her clench her teeth and convulse in pain. Her knuckles went white as she gripped the sheets.
It wasn't supposed to be now.
She panted, trembling as the wave of pain passed.
It wasn't supposed to happen until the summer, but...
Ferdinand understood immediately, a sickening realization settling in his chest like lead.
Myne, hold on. Let me get...
No.
She grasped his hand in a vice-like grip.
It's no use. Please, let me have this one thing. Let me close my eyes and rest. And when I open them again, let me see them both.
Once more the ground heaved violently beneath them as he realized with horror what she meant. Rising from the floor, he sat on the bed beside her. Ignoring the shaking, he reached out a hand to check her temperature and her mana flow. She was running a dangerously high fever, and her mana flow was beyond unstable. No wonder she was in such pain. He needed to do something to bring her some kind of relief, starting with bringing down her fever. He uncovered her, pulling back the blankets, only to be met with the sight of deep crimson staining the sheets beneath her, spreading like a terrible flower. His breath caught in his throat. He had never seen anything like this before, and he didn't know if it was normal or not, but it terrified him to his core. He cast Vashin, but though the blood vanished, the reality of the situation did not.
Myne.
He reached out, hesitated, then gently touched her shoulder.
Let me help you sit up.
She didn't resist as he lifted her, gently, oh so gently and carefully, settling her against the headboard, a pile of pillows behind her. Her face was pale as porcelain, streaked with tears, her lips dry and colorless, her eyes red and swollen. But it was the emptiness in them that shattered something deep inside him. This was Myne without her light, without her boundless enthusiasm for life and books. Myne stripped of every thread of love and hope that had held her together.
Myne.
He whispered.
I shouldn't have abandoned you before, and shouldn't have taken Eckhart with me to the sovereignty. I did wrong. But please, please, don't give up on yourself.
Another tremor rattled the room, stronger this time. Outside, the cries of panic in the streets grew louder, more frantic. The bells at the temple and at the gates began ringing urgently. Time was running out, but she didn't have to be in pain or discomfort. Ferdinand yanked open the bedside drawer. He knew what should always be stuck there. And yes, there it was. The vial of potion that would ease her pain, lull her into the sweet oblivion of a drugged sleep before the end. He uncorked the vial, but when he pressed it to her lips, she turned away. A quiet refusal. He froze, watching as she rejected mercy in favor of clarity, comfort in favor of courage. And in that moment he understood. He would have done the same, met his fate unflinchingly, eyes blazing and open, unwilling to surrender up until the very end. He exhaled softly. It seemed that all this time he had underestimated her, and for the first time he saw her with new eyes. All this time he had seen her as something fragile, something delicate, something to protect at all costs. But now, as she reclined there, unyielding even in the face of certain doom, he saw her as she truly was. Not a child, not a breakable thing, but a woman, grown, strong, and resolute. And she had chosen to meet the end, however tragic or heartbreaking it might be, on her own terms.
He was supposed to come back,
she continued, her voice barely above a whisper, her gaze distant and feverish, looking past this world into another. He knew that she wasn't listening at all to what he was saying, couldn't hear or see anything going on around her.
He said he'd bring me flowers the next time we met,
she continued.
He always kept his promises, Ferdinand. Always.
I know.
The words felt hollow, inadequate. Nothing could be enough in the face of such loss. Books tumbled from the shelves as another violent tremor ripped through the estate. Half a dozen vases full of white yandawons crashed to the ground. Ferdinand drew closer to her, shielding her from the breaking glass and debris with his cape. But Myne didn't even flinch.
I saw it happen.
She pressed a trembling hand to her heart.
I felt everything. The explosion, the fear and despair he felt. His last thoughts were of me, of our baby.
Fresh tears slipped down her cheeks.
He was so happy about becoming a father. He regretted not being able to be here for us.
Ferdinand lowered his cape. It hurt him beyond words to hear her speak of this, but he had been the source of all her pain, hadn't he? Who else but he should bear it?
Sorry.
he said.
Don't apologize.
She looked at him then, and for a moment a flicker of her old self flashed in her hollowed eyes.
This isn't your fault. It's bigger than any of us, isn't it? I can feel it. The whole world is coming apart, and not even you can stop something like this from happening.
I should have explained myself better back then.
He explained quietly.
You deserved that much, at least.
Then, thinking about him and Rosamine, he added softly,
It's no good to keep things from those that you care for, even if you mean well.
A ghost of a smile touched her lips.
My power bump, sorry.
Oh,
Oh, I was kind of worried for a second there.
we can hear you now, so.
Yeah, but I don't know where we're at. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
It wouldn't change anything.
It wouldn't change anything.
It wouldn't change anything.
So a ghost of a smile touched her lips. Right there.
We are experiencing some technical difficulties, people. Please bear with us while we try to figure things out.
Teal?
Almost got it.
Okay.
I've almost got it.
No problem. We can wait for you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Hello? Hello.
We hear you.
Okay, so after it goes to the smile, touch your lips, right?
Yeah, you sound a little muffled.
Do I?
Yeah.
Check on which mic you're using, because maybe it switched mics on you with the power bump.
That's absolutely what it was. This is better.
Yes.
Yes, much better.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. It happens. All right. Let me know when you're ready so I can start from a ghost of a smile or something. Or should we go back a little bit up? I think we're good. A ghost of a smile. Let me know. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, cool. All right. A ghost of a smile touched her lips.
It wouldn't have changed anything. We both know that. And I found real happiness with Eckhart.
Her voice cracked. Her face crumpled with sorrow.
He loved me so well. You were right all along, Ferdinand.
She cried out suddenly, her face contorting in a grimace of pain. Ferdinand took her hand in his once more, feeling beyond helpless, beyond useless, at seeing her bear such unimaginable pain, without him able to do anything about it. Meanwhile, the roaring outside grew louder, closer. The light coming in through the windows got duskier, fading unnaturally as if someone was blotting out the sun. Soon, very soon now. I lost my place.
Suddenly he remembered.
Hold on a sec. Oh, okay, yeah. Suddenly he remembered.
Myne, do you still have that teleportation circle of yours?
She did not reply until later, when the wave of pain was over, leaving her shaky, panting, and exhausted.
Yes. Why?
Ferdinand's mind raced. He had seen Rosamine's circle. True, it had only been once, but while he hadn't memorized all of it, he was confident he could reconstruct it. He just needed a parchment large enough to make it work.
We have one chance. One last chance to escape what's rushing towards us.
No.
Her refusal was sharp, final as a blade.
Myne, listen to me.
No. I don't want to,
she said, and judging by the determined glint in her eyes, she meant it. Ferdinand was stunned, speechless.
You, however, should,
she continued, pronouncing each word with quiet certainty.
It's in my workshop downstairs. Ask any of my retainers. They'll be happy to help you. But leave me here.
She pulled her hand from his grasp, and Ferdinand felt something in him fray. Wild despair threatened to overtake him. Was this what Rosamine had felt when he'd refused to stay with her?
Why?
He asked.
I told you. Because they're gone.
She said weakly.
And I want to go with them.
Myne.
Desperation clawed at his throat.
Please. Don't give up. Don't. Please.
He pulled her into his arms then, all decorum, all propriety meaningless in the face of this boundless sorrow. She buried her face against his chest, and he felt her fingers curl weakly around his sleeve. He felt her sob, for Eckhart, for their child, for him too, for all the futures that would never be. And when another contraction racked her body, coinciding with another violent quake, she clung to him like a lifeline. And then it was not she who wept bitterly now, but he, who could feel the incoming destruction, the rush of white sand consuming everything in its path, erasing all he had known and loved, including her.
Thank you, Ferdinand.
Myne whispered at last, her voice barely rising above the howling wind outside. His throat tightened. He pulled her closer, shielding her with his cape as the wind raged beyond the window. Sand and debris battered the walls, the swirling maelstrom of destruction consuming everything in its path as it neared them. Buildings, trees, people. Time was running out.
For what?
He asked softly. She exhaled a trembling breath.
It's not my first time dying in an earthquake.
A wry, breathless laugh escaped her, cut short by a sharp gasp as pain rippled through her body.
Last time, I woke up here. You'd think I'd be used to it, but it's just as terrifying.
She clenched her eyes shut, pressing her forehead against his chest as another wave of agony raked her.
Think someone, a friend, with me helps.
The word friend struck deeper than it should have. Ferdinand tightened his hold as the tremors grew violent, the walls groaning under the strain. Around them, hundreds of Yandawans lay scattered across the floor, shattered vases, their once pristine arrangements torn apart by the relentless shaking. And yet, impossibly, the petals remained fresh. Their delicate fragrance still lingered in the air, defying the devastation unfolding around them. How could something so beautiful still exist, still flourish amidst this calamity? It was as fragile and miraculous as the fact that, after all of the things that had transpired between him and Myne, after all the ways he had hurt and rejected her, she still called him her friend.
Of course.
He murmured.
I promised I would come when you needed me, didn't I?
A small nod, a quiet hum of acknowledgement. She nestled closer as the world trembled violently around them, and with a final, ragged whisper, she exhaled.
Thank you for not abandoning me.
Her voice faded. Her body slackened in his arms. Ferdinand's chest clenched, and he felt the weight of exhaustion settle over her, pressing her further toward the abyss. But the final words she had uttered hung in the air, and as everything around them clattered to the ground and the approaching wall of sand blotted out the light and pelted the windows like a violent hailstorm, Ferdinand's mind drifted back to a year ago, to the day she had collapsed during her coming-of-age ceremony, and she had said the same thing to him, eyes full of joy and hope, because she had thought that he was there to take her away and be with her for the rest of her days. Who would have thought that now, at the end of all things, after they had both found and lost love, after happiness had slipped through their fingers like a cruel illusion, they had only each other left to hold on to? It should not have been enough. And yet, to face the end of the world together with her was a privilege he did not deserve. But he had learned something, thanks to Rosamine, and that was how to accept something he did not deserve. He had learned to accept love. It was time he learned to accept friendship. And perhaps forgiveness, too.
Thank you.
He said, closing his eyes and uttering the words from the bottom of his heart as he held Myne closer to him, instinctively positioning himself between Myne and the encroaching devastation, his arms tightening around her frail form. The wave of white sand crashed against the Linkberg estate at last, shaking the house to its very foundations. The walls groaned as the great house started to collapse.
I'll be with you to the very end.
The room was all but enveloped in darkness, and he knew his worst nightmare was about to come to pass.
I won't abandon you.
But then, she pushed him away. Confused, he loosened his grip, pulling back just enough to meet her gaze.
Myne?
It was hard to see, so he adjusted his cape slightly, trying to shield her better. And then he froze. His breath caught and his eyes widened in horror as his eyes met hers, for it wasn't her golden eyes that stared back at him, but crimson red eyes, alien and wrong, as well as horrifyingly familiar. A deep, searing dread shot through him, and at that exact moment the windows shattered, letting in an avalanche of white sand and howling wind that made the air unbreathable. Or maybe it was the shock of recognition that stole the breath from his lungs. Whatever the case, Chaosopher, now fully in control of Myne's mind and body, and not at all hindered by what would have been a very troublesome Hersphere face stone, plunged Veritas, the mana blade Eckhart had once entrusted to Myne, now steeped in her memories and Eckhart's words, deep into Ferdinand's back, doing what Rosamine had been unable to, mercilessly cutting both Myne and Ferdinand's threads in one fell swoop. Book Lover miraculously survives deadly collapse in Tokyo earthquake.
Tokyo, Japan, on Showa Day, the first day of Japan's Golden Week.
A woman with a passion for books became the sole known casualty of the April earthquake, not from falling buildings, but from her own towering collection of literature. Rescue workers pulled the woman from beneath a collapsed heap of books inside her home. According to emergency responders on the scene, two of the three rescuers initially believed she had no pulse upon extraction. Yet, against all odds, she survived. Despite the severity of her injuries, which included a punctured lung, dislocated shoulder, and a fractured skull, and a shattered tibia. Experts say she was extraordinarily lucky. Her books, which had nearly crushed her to death, may have ironically cushioned from some of the impact, preventing even more fatal consequences. Moments after waking in the hospital, she whispered a single request for a book, or for someone to read to her, before slipping back into unconsciousness. Authorities continue to assess structural damages caused by the earthquake while the woman remains hospitalized in stable condition, though unconscious for the past 5 days. Doctors remain cautious about her recovery, but for now, the woman who defied death for the love of books sleeps on.
Urano Mutosu did not die, but neither did she awake. Nothing the doctors tried or did could bring her back, not even the sound of her mother's voice, or the bustle of friendly strangers who visited her, drawn to the hospital after news of her utterly absurd story which had spread through social media. There was only darkness, as dreams and memories tangled into something neither fully real nor entirely imagined. As the days passed, Urano's mother and Shu remained with her, keeping their vigil and taking turns at her bedside, reading to her as she had requested. As word spread about the strange case of the Sleeping Beauty, as Urano was now known in the news, even more strangers came bearing books and gifts, reading aloud to the unconscious woman as though their voices might build a bridge back to her. And so, it really wasn't so strange when 5 days after the earthquake, a man in a pilot's uniform appeared in the doorway of her hospital room. He was remarkably tall and handsome, and he definitely looked out of place in that cramped hospital room. He carried an unremarkable basket of insipid white flowers, hurriedly bought at an exorbitant price in the hospital's gift shop. Yet he moved with the purpose of someone who had crossed impossible distances to arrive at precisely this moment. He acknowledged neither Urano's mother nor Shu as he entered the room. His focus remained absolute as he took the seat beside Urano's bed and leaned down with devastating tenderness to carefully press his lips against her bandaged forehead. A gesture so intimate, so sweet, it should have seemed intrusive. Yet both Urano's mother and Shu were frozen in too great a shock to do anything about it. For, at the stranger's touch, Urano Mutosu stirred. The jumbled fragments of dreams and memories in her mind settling at last like dust after the storm. Her eyelids fluttered open to find the face of a man she had never seen in her life. She was confused at first, but in the space of a few heartbeats, something clicked. She saw the flowers he bought. She saw him. She recalled the words of a letter she had once read in a distant dream, in another time and another place. And somehow, she knew. The steady hum of the heartbeat monitor stuttered, then quickened, each beep sharp and urgent. Her breath hitched, a sudden desperate gasp, as trembling fingers reached toward him, straining with effort. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over in silent recognition. Meanwhile, the smile that transformed the stranger's face held all the relief of a traveler who had finally found his way home after being lost for lifetimes.
You're here.
She whispered.
I'm here.
He said quietly, but the words seemed to say something more.
And I won't ever leave you again.
His hand enveloped hers, warm and solid and real, a promise fulfilled, a prayer answered, across the boundaries of worlds and the ending of one life into another. Meanwhile, in Alexandria, Ferdinand jolted awake, his body trembling and drenched in sweat, his head pounding and his mind reeling, consumed by the echoes of a lost weave, of a life, a world, a love that no longer existed. With a sharp inhale, he sat up groaning, blinking against the golden morning light. He turned to look about him, searching in the silence of the room. But he was all alone. End of chapter.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah. I'm so glad you ended it like this. I really didn't expect it, and I am so happy with how you done the Eckhart and Myne.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, it hurts in a good way, but my tummy hurts from just the emotion. Oh, so much pain and so much emotions, you guys. So, hello everyone. My name is Magpie, and I need some emotional support after this chapter. Let's talk about it, you guys.
You're not going to get that from me. I'm just going to cause chaos.
Well, ignoring Patrick, let's unravel what happened here. So, Eckhart, remember when he died, he said he wanted another chance to be with Myne. And Myne, when she died, she wanted to be with Eckhart. Like, the first thing she wanted was to see him and her baby. So, that's basically how it happened. She woke up in the hospital, and the first person she saw was Eckhart. Just as he promised in the letter, he didn't forget, he brought flowers. Yes. I know, romantic drivel, you might say, I don't care, sue me. It needed to happen. I had envisioned that ending, and that's the way it is. All right.
How long have you had this ending in mind?
The ending, about like a year. I wasn't really quite sure how I was gonna end it, but when the letters started happening between her and Myne, I knew that at some point that was going to be like an important part, like his final letter was going to be like the setup for the end. And since I had already had him like bring flowers, like that was something that had been happening since the beginning, like bring flowers, I wanted that to like also be part of it. As to how he became a pilot and all that stuff, I have in my head like the whole story of how it all happened and why it's 5 days later, etc., etc. But I'm not gonna go into details like that right now. We'll talk about them later if necessary. But yeah, so that happened. Red Tempest says, at least we had a small ship sail for Myne Eckhart ship. Right, it made it through. It made it. Like, it didn't die. It made it. In another world, but...
It died. It died and then still resurfaced.
Mm-hmm. It turned into a submarine only to come back up after the storm. Oh, man.
I mean, they did die.
It did. So, Teal says, I'm just so relieved my power came back on. Yeah. Honestly, you guys, that
Explain to you the heart attack I had when I just finished delivering my line and then whump.
Oh, yeah, I saw like a little exclamation mark next to your name. I was like, what happened there? Oh my gosh, Teal, you poor thing. But I'm glad that it all worked out, and everybody who's watching this, thank you for your patience. It wasn't as terrible as you might imagine. It was just a little bit of a wait, and we're all good. We were just trying to hold on to attention. I was hoping that none of us would start a conversation because I was like, no, we have to maintain the tension. So thank you everybody for just keeping the peace and staying silent. Because otherwise we would have had to like build it up again. That's the hardest part, is building up that tension. And you guys did such a great job at to like carry that emotional thing, like that final scene with Fergie and Teal reading their lines. Oh, so good. So good. All right, so I'm just amazed at you guys' work. But I always say that, but I'm just saying, you guys did really good in this scene. Crusher says also. Let me just read Crushers. Let me just read Crushers. Yeah. Also, when do we get Chaosifer extermination arc? Everybody's saying they're Chaosifer. Right? We'll talk about Chaosifer maybe later. Yukihime?
I want to remind you of the song If the World Was Ending, I'd Wanna Be Next to It. I'm not gonna...
Yes.
If the party was over and our time on earth, I just want to hold you for a while and die with a smile.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I actually included it as one of the songs in the soundtrack, or the fanfic soundtrack, but it's actually a Ferdinand Rosamine song. It's I think it's around the time of Copy and Place that I have that one, that I assigned it to it. But yeah, I love that song. Thank you for reminding me, because I'm gonna go listen to it again later.
All around is perfect for this fanfic.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was written just for this fanfic, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Let's see. Red Tempest says, I would have ruined the tension if I was in the voice chat, lol. As it is, I saw some people laughing at some point. I was like, what's there to laugh about?
I was making some inappropriate jokes.
Oh, I see. But then Yukihime was followed up with crying emojis as necessary and expected. Thank you, Yukihime, for bringing the chat back too. Oh, you guys.
Yeah, I'm here to cry always.
Always cry. Good. That's my intent. After Chaosifer, says Crusher, after Chaosifer destroys the Weaves' library and the books, she's on Rosamine's doo-doo list. Blood carnival of a god. Yeah. Let's see what happens, because we still don't know what about Rosamine. Like, we have Eckhart and Myne are woke up in Earth, in the bodies that used to belong to their souls. And then what was it? Ferdinand woke up in Alexandria, but we don't know what happened to Rosamine, you guys. Any thoughts? Nobody here knows except me, so you can voice it out without worrying that it's a spoiler, because nobody knows except me.
Sleeping Beauty!
Sleeping Beauty. What else?
I don't know.
Formal complaint lodged against the gods. This is going to litigation.
There is also a certain bit from a previous chapter, I believe it was 90 or 40 or something, about a certain mana blade showing up in the gods' realm. What's that all about?
Rosamund still hasn't stopped anyone, so like the story is not over. 100 more chapters. Here we go.
No, just one more chapter. It might be a long one, but it's gonna be the final one. 117, so it matches the Count of Monte Cristo, right? Yes.
Right.
All right. Crusher asks, Wolf's Rain watch party when? Oh, can my heart take it again? I would love to rewatch it, but I'm wondering if my heart can retake it again. Red Tempest says never saw that anime. Oh man, it's a classic. Anybody here have watched Wolf's Rain besides Crusher?
No.
No? Am I the only one?
No.
Ah. Crusher, you did watch it, or are you just asking to watch it together?
From
Yeah, I have watched it.
2003.
Oh, okay, you watched it.
But I was like in high school. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I was still a very young magpie too. The soundtrack though is I love the soundtrack. It's one of my favorites from Yoko Kanno. So, and she made some pretty good ones. I mean, she did Cowboy Bebop. She did a bunch of them. So
Yeah, she's a legend.
yeah,
For sure.
Vision of Escaflown, whatever you say. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you guys like depressing stuff, then excellent. But it's again, if this thing was based on just the vibe of that Wolf's Rain brings, so you know what you're getting into. But the ending song is very, very good. Yeah, at the final episode, you get this like climactic scene, and it's like wow, like it's beautiful and heartbreaking, and I tried my best to kind of like emulate that feel. So yeah. Crusher says regarding Rosamine's location and Rosamine's theory, says I think she was rescued by other multiverse Rosamine in an attempt to stop her canon event. Red Tempest says alternative Rosamine who had the Infinity Stones grabbed Rosamine to help assemble the Avengers to avenge her destroyed library. You guys. Yeah, I think you guys were also talking about the I think Red Tempest, you brought it up on the server at some point about
Yes.
MCU crossover.
Yes, you integrated Thanos in the whole story, and it was great.
All right. Any other questions you guys have about this chapter? Any clarification or comments or anything before we end today's stream?
Waiting patiently for the last chapter.
I'm waiting patiently too, apparently. Yes, I haven't written it yet. Oh gosh. I'm working on it, okay? I have completed 90% of the first draft.
Well, you have less than 2 days remaining.
I know. I'm gonna cut it real close, but I will get it done. I promise I will.
Believe in you. We believe in you. You actually managed over the course of the months in which you didn't know if it was possible, and it was right on time.
Okay, I will do my best, yes. Since you guys believe in me so much, I shall not disappoint you. So yeah, the next read along, it will be the final A World Away read along, will be on Friday, 1 o'clock. I do hope that you guys are able to join us. And it's been a wild ride, so at least let's see, like, get some final questions answered. If you have any questions, I hope they get answered here. If not, well, we'll just have to live with some uncertainty, I guess. But I really don't want to leave any loose threads. So hopefully it'll be a satisfying conclusion.
Okay, so this isn't a question, but like it kind of stood out to me because I don't know, I didn't think about it until now. But like, yeah, Ferdinand in this wave just straight up was very far away from mine for most of the time, so he doesn't know Angelica and Feline. Like that's so weird.
Yep. Yeah, he knows Angelica-ish, kinda, because when Angelica and I think when Myne went once, she took Angelica to one of his meetings, but Feline was mostly like as attendant, but at home. Like she was still not really taken out to like events. Yeah. Also, another thing, I hope you guys now realize what the role of the her sphere was. I don't know if you guys got it, or because I know you asked about it, the her sphere and how it was gonna play. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And because she didn't have it, Chaos Sphere could take over her body. So now my suspicions of Tuli were proven right. I am right as always.
As always.
Mighty bold claim. Well, yeah, so again, Cassifer's just running amok. She can whisper words to people and move them about as she wants to, because heck, nobody's doing anything in this world. Like, there's no deity watching over this world. So, if anything, when Eckhart prayed that he would be able to see Myne in his next life or whatever, like, there was nobody, no god was listening to him. The only person who really listened to him was Chaosifer. She's the only one that really cared. So yeah, like, we want to, you know, be angry at her, but she kind of like probably was the only one that could have made it possible. Also,
this whole wave is just Chaosifer wave.
Yeah, it is Chaosifer's wave. After all, another thing that we have to realize is because Chaosifer is the one that did the deed, she killed Ferdinand, and she's the one that cut the thread, remember? If a divine hand does the cutting, it won't destroy the thread, it will just create a permanent reality. So, because she's the one that cut the thread, that's what made it possible for them to have that reality where Myne and Eckhart are able to kind of like reunite again in Earth, because their threads were snipped by Chaosifer. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I didn't put that together.
Oh, I'm glad that I'm explaining things. So it didn't just happen like because how romantic, they met in the next life. No, this was Chaosifer doing things. She's the one that was responsible for it. Yeah.
I knew like it was. I thought that it was gonna be like because of her influence, because everything is chaos. But I didn't. Like, at least right now, I didn't think about the fact that yes, both Eckhart that wasn't just stabbed and bleed out, but actually was stabbed with something infused by Chaosifer, and so he had those black tendrils and stuff. So yeah, he was killed by Chaosifer indirectly, and then Myne is also right now killed by her by kind of her hand. So
yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Chaosifer, I guess.
Do we still want that bloodbath crusher? Anyway, so yeah.
Crusher, how dare you go after our Lord and Savior Chaosifer?
Exactly.
All right. So
hey man, those books need retribution.
Well, as long as when she gets back to Alexandria, her library is intact, I think she'll be more than willing to, just overlook this thing. So yeah, I think as far as I remember, those are the only bits of details I want to point out, just to make sure that you like the choices that I made were. I tried to think them through for the most part. Also, another thing that happened was Myne's thread. So remember, there were two threads that were kind of like that Rosamund needed to cut. And it was Ferdinand's and Myne's, right? The alternate Ferdinand's and Myne's. But because Myne took Eckhart's name, and also because they had a baby and everything, like that just absolutely changed the nature of her thread. So it was possible for, like that thread to carry on over to the next real world, like back to Japan. That also had something to do with it.
Very complex story anyway.
Yeah, I mean, people that read this probably wouldn't really like go into but why, but I still had to go and make sure that I covered the basis and that it made sense, so that if anybody asked, I could just see like, okay, so this is the logic behind why things happened. And I know you guys like probably were like, well, whatever. Yukihime at some point in the chat says, poor Elvira. So Elvira realized that.
Yes.
Oh, my poor mama. Yeah, she realized that Eckhart is gone. He's no longer in this world.
I am imagining because literally the world is ending around them, and Elvira is very smart. I'm curious, what's going on to her head. Of course, in the moment, she's only thinking about Eckhart, the fact that yes, he is dead, and she was pretty certain of that, probably from from Myne's reaction, not necessarily. And Ferdinand only confirmed it. But what does she think about the rest of the situation? Does she understand how much she understands that it's the end of the world? Oh my god!
Nobody understands what's going on, you guys. Remember, Ehrenfest was relatively mana-rich, mana-stable, so you couldn't see a lot. If you were like a noble, you heard the reports of how bad it was. But one thing is, hearing about the reports of devastation, and then one thing is it reaching your doorstep, you guys. So
also arrogant nobles.
Yeah, arrogant nobles. So not to say that Elvira deserves a little bit of wake-up call because we love her, but maybe the other ones do. No. Yeah, so we have that. We got our last glimpse at Dolores. Dolores kind of just went away with Elvira too, and everybody else was just forced to wait outside and whatever. Yeah, pretty bad. All right, I think that covers everything, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, for reading. I want to give a applause to everybody who read today. You guys did amazing. Today reading, we had Hirami reading Rosina and the Scholar. We have Magpie who read Elvira. We have JC Fergie who read Ferdinand. We had Theo who read Myne. We had Patrick who read the pilot and the reporter. By the way, Patrick, did you know that the pilot would be the stand-in for Eckhart? Did you read ahead?
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never do such a thing.
Confirmed. Okay. And then Yukihime read Miscellaneous. And today's highlights brought to you by Teal. Yay! Thank you, Teal, and thank you all of you guys for joining us today. We'll see you on Friday as we finish out this story once and for all and say bye-bye to this fanfic. I can't wait for that. We'll see.
Whoa, don't say goodbye yet. We got one more chapter.
Well, yeah.
One more.
I'm saying we'll see you then on Friday when we'll finish this thing. I just don't want to get too emotional because I think if I don't kind of like start thinking about and digesting the fact that it's almost done, I will cry. So I better just kind of like, okay, just say the words so that when the last chapter ends, you can just say like, okay, that was fun, bye bye. Right? I mean, it's 3 years worth of work, you guys. 3 years. I can still remember when I started brainstorming this thing with Fergie. Fergie, remember how like we like talked about this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it went wild, like crazy directions I'd never expected. All I know is that suddenly I was like, Fergie, I have this idea, this crazy idea. And you were like, tell me all about it. And so I like went off. I think I might have written like an entire wall of text about seeing jealous Ferdinand. The whole premise was to make Ferdinand jealous and regret the fact that he had let Myne go. So that was the thing. That was how it started, you guys.
That's how you remember it?
And what else do you remember? What do you remember? You remember what else?
See, I remember it. You were like, okay, how do I make the reader suffer as much while also still wanting them to read more? That's what I remember. Okay. So, to be fair, Fergie and I speak the same fanfic language, which is suffering, because he writes also angsty fanfics, okay, or fanfic. So I knew that if somebody was going to give me the green light, it was going to be Fergie. Because he, with Afraid Not, he was doing his thing, and I was loving every bit of it. So thank you for enabling me. It's been a ride. You're welcome.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Hope you join us on Friday around noonish or 1 Pacific time. We will see you next time. Thank you, gang. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.